Hola y bienvenidos a la Daily Hustle. Soy Enrique Byrnes y presidente esa mejor cerveza. No abate por No Filter Network. Miguelito San Dieguito not with us today, but I will see him this evening. Hopefully, at least this weekend. Will the Thrill Clark not with us this morning, but will be back on his regular shift on Tuesday. Regardless, we come on here and we salute not only our boys, but each and every one of you properly. Yes, 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 yes. Woo! Remember this, folks. When we are juiceful, we are useful. And when we are juiceless, we are fucking useless. Our title sponsor today is Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football, basketball, baseball, you name it, they got it. BetOnline has every stat, matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on the $200,000 mega contest. Pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200K. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. Okay, what a performance yesterday by Shohei Ohtani. Right after I come on the Daily Hustle to regale you guys about how hard it is to hit even 2 homers in 10 games. The guy goes out there and hits fucking 3 in 1. Just incredible. Okay, it brings us to today's Daily Hustle electronic email communication that went out. If you're not signed up for the Daily Hustle, do me a favor. On my Instagram story time today, I'm going to put a link where you guys can sign up for the mailing list. And by the way, if you order a foot reflexology board, if you order a flippy, if you order a Daily Hustle 222 Unfiltered Life Guides from a Human Crash Test Dummy, an F-It list, anything, I believe you automatically go into the email list, which typically comes, I don't know, anywhere between 1 and 5 days a week, just depending on how writerish I'm feeling. So here we go. Buenos dias. Today is Friday, September 20th, 2024. Yesterday, Shohei Ohtani went 6 for 6 with a single, 2 doubles, 3 homers, 10 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases, becoming the first person in baseball history to record a 50 home run, 50 stolen base season. Ironically, somebody we know just so happened to go on the Daily Hustle podcast on No Filter yesterday before the Dodgers played their game in Miami and said Ohtani had a 50-50 shot, no pun intended, of reaching the 50-50 milestone. Before yesterday's game, he still needed 1 more stolen base and 2 more home runs in the remaining 10 games, which was no lock and not very easy to do. Apparently, I forgot who the fuck we are dealing with, as Ohtani has now, in my humble opinion, solidified himself as the 3rd greatest player in baseball history. Daily Hustle quote of the day: make it a point to do something every day you don't want to do. This is the golden rule for acquiring the habit of doing your duty without pain. Mark Twain. Daily Hustle translation: the first thing I do when I get out of bed is brush my teeth, fire up the coffee maker, which I preload with grains and water the night before, then go outside on the balcony in the brisk morning mountain air and pick up dog shit. Do I enjoy being the pooper scooper? Not really, but it's a task best performed early while the shit is hardened, and when I am done, we have a beautiful poop-free balcony and view to admire. Most importantly, though, much like General McCraven suggests in his bestseller, Make Your Bed, by immediately completing the first task of the day, it sets the tone for getting all sorts of other shit done. Pun intended this time. The entire rest of the day. EB. So, there you have it. I can't tell you how important I think it is to get a task done. Now, If that task is making your bed, great. Thankfully, I get to sleep in the same bed as my wife and my bulldog, so I get up earlier than them. So the idea and thought of being able to make the bed right then is just not feasible. But there are other tasks, including making the coffee, picking up the dog shit, lighting the fire. I would say lighting the fire and making the coffee are a little bit more enjoyable than picking up the shit. But I've actually kind of gotten to like, I think more than anything, it's the brisk air that I feel when I head out in the morning. And I don't have shoes on. A lot of times I don't have a shirt on. So it makes me work quick when it comes to scooping up all of the poop. On that, oh, is that the beat? I'd like to give myself a round of applause. So good. Okay, so Shohei Ohtani obviously put together one of the best games in the history of MLB. The question now becomes, is it the best game ever? Now, it's up for debate. I would say, considering the circumstances, though, think about that. You were not guaranteed getting to 50-50. There's a ton of pressure on him. International pressure, too. We're not just talking about the United States of America and following this. I guarantee you they're more into this in Japan than they are even here. And so what does he do? He goes out as we're getting into this final stretch, and in one fucking day, hits not one, not two, but 3 homers that he needed. And then he decides, yeah, I might as well rip a couple bags too. So he ends the day 51 and 51. 51 homers, 51 bags. I got to believe it's the single greatest performance. Now, in a 20-4 blowout, the last homer coming against a position player, I get it. Who gives a shit? But when this comes to single game performance and chasing milestones, Derek Jeter, I believe, was 5 for 5 when he hit the home run for his 3,000th hit. So there have been other ones that I think, you know, you're hitting huge milestones and you're having big days. But I just don't think there's been anything like this. Sarah Langs, who does a terrific job at MLB.com, has 11 stats and facts as amazing as Ohtani's record-setting day at the plate. Okay, here it is. Entering the day, Ohtani was 2 homers and 1 stolen base shy of becoming the first player in MLB history with a 50-50 season. He's a great player, but any logical baseball fan would have looked at that line and figured he would establish his new club by perhaps the end of the weekend. I disagree with that. Think again. 3 home runs and 2 stolen bases later, Ohtani put together the best single-game individual performance we have ever seen. Considering the circumstances and what was at stake, did we mention? Oh, yeah. The Dodgers needed a win to solidify their spot in the postseason, which they did. All of that got overlooked. It said he didn't just reach 50-50. He did it in breathtaking fashion. Let's dig in. We'll start with the basic facts to get you situated. Ohtani was 6 for 6 on the day, 2 doubles, 3 home runs. He had 10 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 17 fucking total bases. It was the first 3-homer game in MLB history where the player also had multiple stolen bases. But wait, there's more. Great line, Sarah. Ohtani was also the first player since at least 1901 with at least 5 hits, multiple homers, and multiple stolen bases. That one was true even before he hit his 3rd home run. Ohtani inaugurated more combinations too. He's the first player with at least 5 extra base hits and multiple stolen bases in a game since 1901. And again, he didn't just have any of those groundbreaking lines. He did to reach 50-50. Speaking of combinations, consider this. Only one MLB player has had any games in a career with individually at least 10 RBIs, 6 hits, 5 extra base hits, 3 home runs, and 2 stolen bases. That means putting up any of those discrete stats in a game, not necessarily all at once. Ohtani is the only player to do that since the RBIs become an official stat in 1920. As noted above, Ohtani knocked in 10 runs. It's the 16th 10 RBI game since RBIs became an official stat, and the first at the hands of a Dodger, as well as the first from the leadoff spot. He did all this for the fucking leadoff spot. The previous 15 players to do so combined for 0 stolen bases in those games. Ohtani had 2. He ended the day with 17 total bases, tied for 4th most in a game since 1901. It's the 7th time a batter had at least 17 total bases. Before Ohtani, the most total bases by a player in a game who also had multiple stolen bases was 11 by Kirk Gibson in 1995 and Brago Roth in 1919. We've mentioned how this performance came with the Dodgers on the precipice of a playoff berth. That situation was of special interest to Ohtani, who entered the day having played 865 MLB games, the most among all players on an active roster or injured list to have never played in the postseason. That just makes his output on this day of all days even more incredible. This is why baseball is the best. In the process, Ohtani became the Dodgers' all-time single-season home run leader. His first homer tied Shawn Green at 49, and his next one gave him sole possession and then some. Shout out to our boy Shawn Green. Played with him in Arizona. Just a fucking awesome dude. It was Ohtani's 4th game this season with at least a home run and multiple stolen bases, tying Eric Davis's 1987 for the 2nd most in a season since 1900, behind only Rickey Henderson's 5 in 1986. It was also his 13th game with at least one of each, tying Henderson for the most in a season. Before Thursday, no MLB player had even had multiple home runs and multiple stolen bases in a game since Mookie Betts in 2020. He and Ohtani are the only Dodgers to do this since 1901. We know Ohtani is a first member of the 50-50 club, but he was already in a league of his own once he reached 43-43. So here's another way to put 50-50 into perspective. His 51 home runs are the most in a 50-steal season in MLB history. The prior mark was 41 by Ronald Acuna Jr. last season. Similarly, his 51 stolen bases are the most in a 50-homer season. The prior record was 24, done by Willie Mays in 1955 and tied by Alex Rodriguez in 2007. Just fucking incredible. I mean, I don't think there's any other way to put it. So, the question becomes, is Shohei Ohtani the greatest player who's ever played the game of baseball? A lot of people are saying that, and it's understandable. What he's doing offensively in this season, what he has done in the past, not only offensively, but on the mound as a starting pitcher, is fucking ridiculous. Is he the greatest player who has ever played the game of baseball? No fucking chance. I love Ohtani. He's a great story. And he has the potential to be the greatest player of all time. But right now, he's just not. Part of being a great player is doing it. You're in, and you're out, and you're in, and you're out, and you're in, and you're out. That's why they have this statistic called WAR, wins above replacement. And the longer you play, the higher your WAR goes. So when you look at the greatest players in the history of baseball, from a position player standpoint, you're starting 2 places, in my humble opinion. That's it. It's Babe Ruth and it's fucking Barry Bonds. Ohtani is well on his way. Is he there? No. And he's not even close. He's not even a third of the way there. So let's pull back the reins a little bit and hold our horses, because there's a lot of outlandish statements being made. You could argue that this is one of the best seasons, if not the best season ever put together from an offensive perspective. Now, this stolen base thing is real. The fact that the bases are bigger, they have limited the pickoff throws over to first base. So, is all else equal? No. You can make an argument. Look, there's a shit ton of home runs. Averages are way down, obviously. So, is it easier to hit in this generation than it was in previous generations? Certainly not, judging by the fact that there's two guys hitting 300 in the National League. But when you look at the home run numbers, that's what guys are swinging for these days. Extra base hits, on-base percentage. That's the shit that matters. So guys are looking to take walks. Guys are looking to hit bombs. Regardless, Ohtani is great. He really is. And he certainly could end up being the best player of this generation. I think Mike Trout, a healthy Mike Trout at least, would try to have an argument there. But is he the greatest player to ever live, as many people are proclaiming? Not yet. And he's got a long fucking way to go. So, now that I got that off my chest, let's move on here. The Dodgers, the fact that they clinched yesterday, that's the funniest thing. It's just all this celebration. I didn't even realize it. I had no clue that they clinched. I knew they were way ahead, although you did have the Padres on their heels for a minute. But if you're the Dodgers, I think I'm liking this, because they're going to their 12th straight postseason. They obviously want to celebrate that accomplishment, but if you're the Dodgers now, because you've gone to 12 straight postseasons, it's World Series or bust. That's it. It's great to get there, but unless this team's going out and winning a fucking World Series, I think they could go ahead and save their champagne showers. Now, it's a lot of heat on them. Yeah, but the expectations are high over there. So hopefully, Dave Roberts, Bob Guerin, look, they're going to keep doing what they're doing, do everything they can to put the boys in position to succeed. It's up to the players to go out there and get it fucking done in October. The other team that clinched yesterday, the Cleveland Guardians. And how about the job that Stephen Vogt did this year? He has been heralded as a leader of men. Just incredible. A rookie manager. He was highly sought after by multiple clubs. And obviously now, for good reason. Stephen Vogt, I think about him on MLB Network doing his thing in his referee jersey. So fantastic. But a great character. Obviously a very intelligent guy. And the fact that he was able to get these guys to rally around him in a very short period of time. And, here they are going to the playoffs, winners of the American League Central Division. And then lastly here, how about the Tigers? Now in a tie with the Minnesota Twins for the third spot in the American League wild card. The fact that A.J. Hinch has manipulated this thing and got them back into contention. They had a 0.2%, I mentioned this yesterday, 0.2% chance of making the fucking playoffs. That's it. 0.2%. And now here they are. I imagine that's at least a 50% chance of making the playoffs. They traded away Jack Flaherty. They were 3 games under 500. Like, dude, there's a chance this isn't happening. Well, they've done this by piecing together a starting staff that has given them fewer innings than any other team in Major League Baseball, which now makes me scratch my head and think, look, if you have depth in a bullpen and you have bullpen guys capable of getting outs, this might be the way to go. I hate to say it. Now, they also have an ace in Tarek Skubal, right? But then after the ace, they have a bunch of journeymen, a bunch of rookies, a bunch of guys coming off injuries. Take a look at the numbers here. They're remarkable. The Tigers games started since July 25th. 10 by Scooble. 10 by an inconsistent rookie Kiter, Martero. 10 by an opener, Bo Brisky. 5 by a since demoted opener, Alex Fado. 5 from another opener, Holton. 4 from a number 1 pick working his way back from injury, Casey Mize. 2 from another opener, Brennan Hanafy. 1 from another opener, Mason Englert. 1 from a rookie making his MLB debut, that's Ty Madden. 1 from a rehabbing starter, limited to short outings, Olsen. And 1 from a spot starter, Brent Herter. The fewest rotation innings since July 25th. 186 by Detroit. The Chicago White Sox are next at 210. But what does it matter? Because the fewest runs allowed since July 25th, you guessed it, the Detroit Tigers, 168. Tampa Bay, 172. New York Mets, 175. Houston, 177. And San Francisco, 187. So basically this comes down to run prevention. And one of the points that they're making here is that the Tigers defense has been fucking lights out. Absolutely lights out. And then the other big factor here is they've avoided having the pitcher face a lineup the third time through. And one of the ways they've done that is by implementing the opener. So this is how it's explained. If you put a starting pitcher in there and he goes one time through the lineup, the OPS is like 670, right? The next time through the lineup is 30 points higher. Let's call it 700. The next time through the lineup, it's up to 730 plus. Okay, cool. So if you could avoid multiple trips through the lineup, it's obviously a benefit if you're able to make that switch. Now, the one interesting thing is, though, with the opener, is that you could have the opener, and then the third time, if you go and you do go a third time through the lineup, it's not necessarily going to be the top of the order hitters. Does that make sense? The opener is going to face the top of the order hitters. Let's just say he goes 1, 2, 3. The second guy comes in and he faces 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, back to 1, 2, 3, and through. But when he gets back to the third time through and they have had those situations happen, well, he's not having to face the top of the lineup by then. He's facing like 7, 8, 9, right? So they've been very strategic about the way they have done it, and it's fucking impressive. Kudos to AJ Hinch. It's going to be fun to see how this whole thing shakes out. Taking a look at the MLB schedule for today. You know what? Let's take a real quick look at yesterday. Baltimore 5-3 over San Francisco. Much needed win. Cleveland 3-2 over Minnesota. Minnesota continues to reel. They're now 80-73. Atlanta, they make a statement, 15-3 over Cincinnati. Toronto, 4-0 over Texas. Yankees lose to Seattle. Seattle hanging on for dear life. The Dodgers, 20-4 over Miami. We went over that one. Tampa Bay, 2-0 over Boston. Pittsburgh, 3-2 over St. Louis. The Mets, another fucking 10 runs for the Mets. I believe it's like the third or fourth game in a row, which is breaking some kind of record. Good on the Mets. Milwaukee goes down to Arizona a night after, I imagine, drinking a little too much. 7-6 Cubs over the Washington Nationals. And then it was Houston 3-1 over Anaheim. The standings here, they leave us like this. You have your divisional leaders. Hold tight here. Let's dismiss. Divisional leaders, you got the Yankees who've clinched, the Guardians who've clinched, the Astros are only 83-70. Huh. And then the wild card has the Orioles, the Royals, and then the Tigers and the Twins tied with that 80-73 record. The Mariners are 2 games back of the wild card. So they still do have a chance. I mean, if that's the case, I mean, basically, no. Let's see where they are in the West. The Mariners in the West, yeah, they're 5 out. So their best chance is going to be the wild card. And then in the National League, the Dodgers clinched, Phillies clinched, Brewers clinched. And then it's the Padres, Diamondbacks, and Mets. But they're all within 2 games of each other. So really, no one's guaranteed shit. And then you got the Braves, who are 2 games out. So the Braves are chasing the Mets, right? And then you got the Padres. So they're 2 games better there. So I guess the Padres would be in pretty comfortable territory. The Diamondbacks and the Mets, fucking not at all. The Braves are still, I'd say, knocking on the door or hanging on for dear life, whatever your perspective is. As far as the games today, we have a weekend series firing up. It's Washington at Chicago, Pittsburgh at Cincinnati, Toronto at Tampa, Detroit at Baltimore. That's going to be a hell of a series. You got a red-hot Detroit Tigers team going into Baltimore. The Twins in Boston, Philly in New York playing the Mets. Should be a good series as well. Atlanta is in Miami. They should beat up on the Marlins, so they're not going anywhere. Seattle is in Texas. Anaheim's in Houston. So Seattle, yeah, that's a tough task going in there. San Francisco at Kansas City. Arizona at Milwaukee. Cleveland at St. Louis. The White Sox are in San Diego, so San Diego should get themselves 3 wins. New York Yankees. The Yanks are in Oakland. That should be a fun one. And then the Colorado Rockies are in LA. It will be fun to see what kind of ovation Ohtani gets tonight. So that's it. Everyone have a fantastic day. We'll be back at you on Monday with a brand new Daily Hustle. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, please do me a favor. If you could write a review, give it a little applause, maybe 5 stars. We'd appreciate it. It all helps. That's it.